Unlocking the unspoken. And we understand throughout the process that we have today. Rather, let me stop sharing and then ask you a question. Why do you think we should know about body language? And why is it unspoken? Does anyone in the audience want to answer? What is body language as per you and why should we know about
Yeah, body language is how you use your body to convey messages or to communicate. Body language and gestures consist more than 40 or 50% of our actual communication. So it has to be to the point and exact to convey the right meaning.
it? Thank you. Anybody else want to answer?
Can I add something here?
Sure.
The reason body language being so important is that I would say my view is that, like, if you take the movie Charlie Chaplin, there is no voice in it, but still, even after multiple decades have passed, still it has an impact on the people who watch today, even today's generations. That's because the body language was so strong on it.
Thank you very much, Nagarjun. Okay. How many of you are from the era where we used to get a movie in a regional language in Doordarshan? How many of you watch in a language that you never knew, but you used to watch because there was no other option at that point of time, right? And then most of that was by body language. So body language is the universal language. Forget about the language that is speak today, but the body language is on a universal language, which is why we are trying. So today, let us unlock what are the trying to understand what, what, why, and then how of the body language. Okay, so let's first understand what is body language. You see all that is in the golden color here, the different aspect defining what is the body language, mental and physical ability of human, and that coming to non-verbal communication means whatever I am not speaking, rest is my body language, which might be body posture, it might be gestures, hand gestures, my eye gaze, everything, facial expressions, and eye movement or eye contact that I'm making, right? Everything that I'm trying to do consciously or subconsciously. And they give you sometimes the right message if I'm not conscious enough. Most of the times, when people are being interrogated, especially in the police interrogation, they use the body language that they try to decrypt the body language and try to get the message from the people, right? Something that you keep seeing in the movies, true, right? So let's try to understand what are the different aspects of this non-verbal communication. You said body language, it's a non-verbal. Everything else is verbal. I'm speaking. Anything that I'm not speaking is non-verbal communication. And what are the parts of? Start with my appearance, how I look, how I am dressed, everything, right? And then comes my body contact, how I'm trying to make body contact, maybe my touch, my handshake, everything else. My eye movements, the way that I'm looking at you, the way I'm trying to roll out my eyes, or making eye contact with you, or trying to show my nervousness, etc. My facial expression, where I'm trying to show anger, are all the facial expressions that can happen. And then sounds I'm making. And then posture, the way that I'm standing or sitting. Ways of talking, the way that I'm talking. My head movement. And then my hand movement. And then a space, how I'm utilizing the space on the stage or wherever or whatever place that I'm using to speak. That can be the chair, that can be the stage that I'm walking, That can be any proximity of the speakers that I'm standing. It all depends upon that. These are different aspects of non-verbal communication. Now we understood what is body language. Now, why is body language? Somebody has rightly pointed it out. I don't know the name because the shortcut was AM, but then she told that it was more than 50%. Rather, it is 93% of what you speak or the communication is body, or rather non-verbal communication. 7% is only the words that you speak. Rest is non-verbal communication. Out of it, 38% is your voice modulation and 55% is body. Now let us say, for example, somebody is speaking and you doze up. What happens? Especially in classes, your teacher starts changing the voice modulation and then just you come back to it and you that place, right? You stop daydreaming, you stop sleeping. If you're being dozy, come back to your senses just because of the voice modulation being used. Rajiv, where are you? What are you doing? Can I look at your homework? Something like that, right? The pitch that you hear, that makes a difference. And then the rest, when they're trying to explain something, you look at their hands, the way that they're being friendly or not, all that makes a difference. And only then you pay attention to what they are speaking. Now, does it make sense? 7%. Now it makes more sense why the body language is important, right? So now let us understand more about body language. Now is how. Before understanding how we can use it better, let us understand the components of body language. First thing is your posture, the way that you are sitting, the way that you stand, the posture, and then your appearance. How do you look? Are you coming shabby? Are you coming without bathing? All that makes a difference, right? Now, body language, when we are talking, this is in generic. This doesn't just mean the way that you're trying to give your speeches on the stage. We need to understand this in terms of every aspect. One thing is, for example, you're coming for an interview. How many of you believe that first impression is the best impression? How many of you in the room, you can raise your hand and show a reaction. How many of you believe that first impression is the best impression? Right? First impression is always the best impression. So which is why the body language is important. Next. And then also, you come into a job interview, the way that you are talking to people at your workplace, the way that you're talking to your customers, if you're an entrepreneur, the way that you're presenting something before your senior leadership, every way, your body language is very, very important. Even the way that you're talking to children, it makes a lot of difference, right? So all these aspects we'll try to analyze in all the ways how it makes a difference in every aspect of life. Posture, then your appearance, how do you appear? The third is eye contact, facial expression, the way that you make your faces, hand gestures, the way you move your hands, stance, and use, or rather usage of space. How do you make your stand? And then how do you use the space? Rate of speech, how fast or how slow you speak. Smile, something that you see always Raju making. Emotional and contextual consistency. Now, if I'm talking about somebody's death and I'm making smiling faces, how does it look like? Okay, that's something context. Now let's talk about posture. First thing is posture. Your posture makes a lot of difference. Now we are looking at three people here. Somebody has a closing their hands and then also closing their legs, which is called closed posture. The person is trying to show either that they are insecure or they don't want to entertain you. Well, the middleman, everybody knows him. What is he trying to show? With the open hands, he's trying to welcome you all. How many of you feel welcome or are open to ask questions for such a person with open hands? Most of us, right? And the third person, what is he trying to show? Putting his hands on his waist is trying to show his authority, right? This is the difference that makes in a posture, right? There are different postures that we keep saying on our daily life. Now, let's try to understand. The person just casually standing on the first one. So people, can you answer me? What do you feel about the person on the first stand? It just open hands and like just standing. What do you feel about that person?
Hesitant?
Okay, any other guesses?
Yeah. Unsure?
Unsure. Okay, we'll come back to it. Now, what about the second person? Does someone else want to answer that?
Closed. Closed.
What do you feel about that person?
Not open.
Not open. And the third person?
Not open.
Second person, bodyguard.
Second person, bodyguard. So for the third person, what do you feel about the third person?
Shy.
Less confident.
Confident.
Less confident. And the fourth person?
Assertive. Assertive.
And fifth one?
Open. Open and assertive.
Dominant.
Authoritative.
Dominant and authoritative. Now you see, we are able to make our assumptions out of the body language. Most of the time, it is correct. The first person is uncertain about how to use their hand in the way with the language that they're speaking. Second person is kind of, sometimes it can be taken as a dominant person, or sometimes it is that they don't want to change, they don't want to hear. I have my own stand. I don't want to hear. I don't care. I don't care. The third person is insecure. They're insecure. That's the stand. That's right. They're holding their own hand. They don't want to move. Most of the time, people who are new speakers who are very insecure, they just hold their own hand. They don't want to move them. The fourth person is kind of trying to build his confidence, his or her confidence, and trying to show hands and then trying to be open here. And the fifth person is a dominant that we have seen in the police officer in the previous, right? So these are the postures. This is how you make a stance. Now, when you are speaking, I would always compare speaking with dancing. Now, what is dance? If you define dance, as per me, it is how your body moves in sync with the music. In sync with the music. Similarly, now in sync with the emotions that you are trying to express in your speech. Try to use your body language. Now, in this case, your posture. Does that make sense? The posture has to be in line with you, what you're trying to see. Now, let's try to understand a little bit about posture again. Now you're seeing people here who have some problems. Most of the times today, we sit and do work. There is clerical jobs or IT jobs, everything. No, people with such posture, what we tend to think is they are not confident. Person who is with this posture, we like their presence. And second thing is we look them at them as confident. This is good for your health. This is also shows or rather gives a good picture before your audience. So try to keep a proper posture. Second thing is your appearance. When I started my career, the few years into that, I have introduced a person into the job, friend of friend. Now, when he joined, he came to the office just shabby, not taking a bath, and just as is. My boss was so impressed with me that he hired that person without the interview. But second day, I got irritated myself and then asked my boss to let him go because of the appearance. It makes a lot of difference. Your appearance makes a lot of difference at every place. At home, you're a role model for your children, and you need to do that. And which is why in every religion, they keep talking about that keeping things better in a proper way brings good fortune. Next thing is, when it comes to your office, your appearance makes a lot of difference. The way people look up to you, whether your coworker or your boss, and then the way that you're presenting yourself before the client gives a good picture. For example, the haircut, the shave, the smile, the confidence feel, dressing, handshake, and also the correct body posture. All this makes a difference. The appearance makes a lot of difference. So when you come on a stage, especially as a speaker, first impression is something that you're building in your appearance, right? So try to make bring that aesthetics part of your appearance to make the first impression. Second thing is eye contact, and the third thing is eye contact. What do you think about this person, the lady who's looking up? What do you think about that person? Somebody want to answer?
A little arrogant.
Okay. It can also mean that somebody is looking up. Maybe they don't know. They're just lost. Now, what do you think about Barack Obama looking down or closing his
Mhm.
eyes,
Thinking.
thinking? Now, what about he again looking into a different angle, not in your eyes?
Addressing someone up there.
Or it can also be that he's not able to make eye contact, not confident,
Okay.
right? So what about the person using hands and then closing eyes there, like they're sad? What about this person who is talking to a person opposite, making an eye contact? What do you
A
think
good
about
a good listener,
a good
giving the
list?
other the
And
right attention.
right. So talking about eye contact, these are the different angles that you can look in, and that makes a lot of difference. Whenever you're making an eye contact with people, they gain your confidence. For example, the way that I'm looking at the tiny hole on my laptop is giving you an impression that I'm looking directly at you. If in a physical room, I need to look into the eyes of everybody. When I am making that eye contact, it is giving you confidence about me. Now tell me something. Do you want to hear from someone who is not confident, or do you want to hear from someone who is confident And who do you think can help you?
Confident person.
Exactly. Which is the reason why we're talking about this body language aspect. The eye contact is the important part. It also builds the trust. Now, once that person makes an eye contact, you might be hesitant before, but after making the eye contact, you feel confident to ask questions if needed there, right? So, which is why eye contact is one of the important aspect of body language. Now, one thing that you need to ensure is try to make eye contact with each and every person. Now, I would say whenever you have an audience, try to break them into quadrants and try to make an eye contact directly. With the initial stages, if you are not able to make eye contact, you're not confident enough making that, then look at their forehead. And then that will give an impression for people that you're making eye contact. Later, you can develop that into making an proper eye contact with people. If you're looking at other ways, it's more like that thing that this person is not confident, whether he's thinking, whether he's lost, whether he's sad. It gives every other impression rather than this. So try to use your eye contact in a proper way. Again, what we talked about is in sync with what you're trying to express. Facial expressions. How better can we talk about facial expression rather than bringing a dance? Right? Now, facial expressions is very important. This brings the mood of what you're trying to convey. These are some of the expressions, popular expressions that can be talked about. For example, the first one is romance, trying to bring romance in what they're talking. And second one is laugher, laughing at somebody. Compassion to people is what she's trying to convey. The third one. Fourth one, anger. And the fifth one is bravery, where you're trying to convey that you were brave in situation. Sixth is fear, trying to convey your fear. Disgust, wonder, you're trying to wonder at something. And peace is very at peace. These are different facial expressions that can be used as part of your presentation or your speech. This again should be in line with what you're trying to convey. It might be different scenarios. It might be a role play that you're showing. It can be even the facts that you're trying to convey. So it brings power to the message that you're trying to convey. Now, hand gestures. Hand gestures is the one main thing. Again, in line with what I'm trying to convey. Now, you need to understand, even though we don't understand each other's language, first thing that we tend to look at is our hand gestures, what they're trying to do. Now, what is Obama trying to do here? What do you think he's trying to convey in his speech there?
Call for action.
He's trying to do his call for action or anything else. He's trying to talk to one in the audience. So what is Bill Clinton trying to do here? Defend himself. Now, what is the lady trying to do here?
Encouraging.
Encouraging or emphasize whatever she's trying to talk. Right? And what is this gentleman in the last picture trying to do?
Explaining something.
Explaining.
Right? Explaining and also trying to bring point of what he's conveying. Now, what is the first person trying to do here?
Affirmation.
Agree.
Second one?
Disagreeing.
Third one?
Acceptance or taking it.
Right, acceptance or asking someone to come. The fourth one is trying to make pointers, 1, 2, 3. Now, Fifth one is trying to talk about self. And the sixth one is confused, right? So this is something that you need to understand. Hand gestures is that it is trying to convey again your mood, and it should be in line with what you're trying to convey. There's always usage of hands, fingers, and also the way that you move them inside, outside, are trying to show one hand. One thing that you must not do is pinpoint somebody with a finger. This is the worst hand gesture that you can make, right? Do not try to do that. You can show hand gesture like this or something in a different way, but do not try to pinpoint at your audience. Most of the time, they find it rude. And second thing is, when you're trying to address an audience of a different culture or different nation, try to be aware of the audience. Sometimes the hand gestures that are allowed in the nation or the culture that you are addressing might be offensive to the other culture. So try to be aware of your audience. Now, fidgeting is something that shows people that you are nervous and also distracts your audience. What do you do? Put something here, trying to do this, or trying to put your hand in a finger in something else, or trying to scratch your head, or anywhere, or trying to write something which is useless, doesn't make sense, or trying to bring out your phone, etc., out of nowhere. So all that shows that you are nervous, and then also distracts people because people start noticing you at those points, noticing your fingers, trying to notice what you're trying to bring out. So avoid that as part of the hand gestures. Okay. Next thing is usage of space, stance. How do you stand? Now, one thing that you need to remember again is when you're using your stage, you need to use it properly. Do not keep just going racing on the stage just because somebody told you to use stage as much as possible. Do not try to do that. Try to use it in a proper manner, conveying your message, especially when you're transitioning in your speech. When you have different aspects of speech, try to convey that using the space by moving there. One thing I've learned is that you can divide your stage again into quadrants and then use that to emphasize or show people that you're transitioning, moving to, like, for example, divide it into 8 quadrants and then move them to show that you're moving from one scenario to other, as going to different stories, transitioning from one to other instances. Okay. But when you're trying to emphasize, when you have a central idea that you're trying to convey, or when you're closing remarks, come to the center towards the audience and try to talk. But when you're changing the stance, try to move to left or any other quadrant based upon that. So when you're changing, ensure that is when there is a transition, and it should go smoothly, not because somebody has told you to move, just going and here, just because somebody told. No, don't do that. Use it smoothly, and it should be as smooth as the transition is happening, right? And then you should use it in a proper quadrant, change as per the stance that you're taking. A rate of speech, this is something that you must understand. Why? Because especially for Indians, most of our languages that we speak we have fast. We speak so fast that when it comes to English, we do the same thing. I've seen people even using 1,000 to 1,100 words in a 5 to 7 minutes of speech. And what happens when there is rate of speech is so high? People are lost, just like the boy who's confused. If it is too low, also people feel bored. It should be an optimum level. What is the optimum level? Is 80 to 100 words. That is a proper phase, and it lets people sync the message, and irrespective of the country or culture where they are from. Initially, I had this problem when I used to speak in India. It was okay, but when I went outside India, talking in different countries, initially they had the problem to understand. It was my rate of speech, and second was my enunciation and pronunciation, which is why I worked on that part, decreased the rate of speech, and at the same time also improved my enunciation and pronunciation, which helped them to understand the message properly. So rate of speech makes a lot of difference. So next time that you're trying to speak, first is prepare your content in line with how long you're going to speak. That should be 80 to 100 per words per each minute. Okay. Next thing is our smile. Smile as much as possible. But again, it should be in line with the emotion or the context. If you are trying to talk about a suicide and then you're smiling, if you're trying to talk about some sad news, you're smiling, it will be not in sync with your emotion. So make your best impression by smiling as much as possible, but it should complement what you are speaking. Right? So try to bring that. And one thing is that once you smile, it brings confidence in the audience. They will love you, like you. They also confident, feel confident to talk to you because you look friendly to them when you smile. And then contextual consistency. Again, talking about the same thing. Whatever you're trying to speak should be, rather, what you're trying to express in your body language should be in sync with the message that you're trying to speak. Understand that sometimes we are so disgusted with people that we try to rather our body language is not in any more sync with what we're trying to convey, right? So we need to understand that and follow this. So we need to maintain the consistency. Means the emotions that you're trying to express are the context of your message or speech that you're trying to pass on, that you need to consider when you're trying to show your body language, your facial expression, smile, or any of this part. This is something that you must always remember, right? For example, you are seeing different aspects, what the people are trying to, what they, what language is trying to convey, but they might be talking completely different from their body language, but we can make out. For example, the lady standing there with the crossed legs and then with those exercise looking like whether she is not open to communicate, and then as if she doesn't trust you, right? And this person here is looking as if he wants to run away from there, and then either he's hiding something from you, but what is it you are not telling us? The third person is more like he's looking hostile. We talked about it, right? They are aggressive, insecure in their eye contact, a closed mind. And third person and the fourth one is looking more not interested and then also defensive, confused about what trying to do. And the last person is looking like as if he doesn't care. And then he's looking at you as if you're stupid. And other way they're impatient, just want to leave that vicinity. So you need to be mindful of your body language in sync with what you're trying to convey. Otherwise, the results might be drastic. Most of the time, people look at your body language first and then sync with the message that you're to ensure that you are in line. Some frequent mistakes that people do is poor posture. They may try to stand still, but then again they come back with a poor posture that they are making. This results in again losing confidence, not being in sync, which we talked about, not being in sync with what trying to convey. And this is the feedback that I got several times initially, that I am smiling when trying to convey some sadness. This is something that you must consider. This might happen inadvertently, so you need to have control of it. Fidgeting and big hand movement. Not just somebody has told, use hand movements, do not try to dance there. Use hand gestures only to emphasize or to show emotions in sync with what you're trying to convey. Do not just keep scratching your head or fingering somewhere, because that might cause people to trust what you're trying. Some people do not show a facial expression and anyway, and that people are confused whether they are emotional enough or empathetic enough to convey the message. We see some news readers, especially there used to be one in Telugu here, who used to read the news, but no facial expression, no emotions, no voice modulation. Whether it is happy news, sad news, anytime, the same face, same voice modulation. Now look at Arnav, and he keeps shouting, keeps throwing those emotions, and that catches attention of everybody. You need to maintain that. If you are, and the next thing is eye contact. People do not maintain eye contact. Just look down, they look up, they look sideways. Now, when they do that, you think that person is not interested in you. He is there just for the namesake. You do not trust that person, and because of all these things, you do not feel confident about them, and you do not want to ask any questions. I do not want to communicate with them. Handshake also makes a lot of difference. Is the person making proper handshake, because that is again the first impression of your body language, and mismatching verbal and non-verbal messages. Sometimes I'm so happy, and I'm trying to show that I don't care, and then I'm saying I'm so happy. Hey, I like you. I'm so angry here that I'm trying to say I like you, but that doesn't make sense, right? Similar way, if there's mismatch is there, then again that causes a lot of issues. So don't try to do that. Smile and make an impact in the audience. If you're not smiling, people will think that you're serious and you're not friendly enough. And do not roll your eyes. Most of the people do that. Don't do that. It shows again that you're either authoritative or you're confused about that. Keep your cell phones off and do not take them out in between your speeches. Many people just pull out as if they don't care about the audience. Don't do that. Okay. And they do not get in this position or in this position. Again, that shows that you either authoritative or don't care about them and are trying to be defensive enough for what you're trying to try to avoid this and try to make your stand. So I want to conclude it by saying that body language is your superpower. Whether you can speak or not speak, but this isn't universal language. So stand strong, gesture effectively, use your hand gesture, other gestures effectively. And last is mind your audience, because audience awareness is important. That what you know with the audience that you are facing right now might be offensive to other audience. So be aware of your audience. So I wish you all the best in your life, whether you are going to use your body language for enhancing your career, or maybe to enhance the pitches that you're going to give before your clients, or maybe enhancing your public speaking career, or maybe public speeches that you're trying to develop. I wish you all the best. I'm open for questions right
Thank you, Distinguished Toastmaster Raghunadha Raju, for your insightful session. We had one question in the chat box previously received on the chat. It was by Miss Chaitanya, who had asked about one of the slides, a query from one of the slides that showed about what kind of a person are you? The difference between the first and the fourth body posture.
now. Okay. Yeah, man. Talking about the body posture, so let me pull up the slide. It's on right.
Yes.
So I didn't see the question, but I asking about first and fourth.
Yes, yes. First and the fourth. What is the difference between first and the fourth?
First person is not sure about how to use their hands. Now he's trying to stand still when trying to convey. So he's as if he's not expressive. While the fourth person is trying to express. Fourth person is trying to express. We see the hands movement. He's trying to raise one hand when the other hand is right. He's trying to convey something. While the first person doesn't know what to do, and then expressionless. And most of the thing is right now, people complain about when people are not able to express because you are not sure about that person. I saw the question from Rajiv.
Yes,
Clean
yes.
shave, whether mandate or not. Again, it depends upon the audience and the scenario. If you're in an Islamic country, probably no. If you're in an informal meeting, probably no. But if you're in a formal setting, or if you're going a place where you're giving a speech or giving a public, you're in a public speaking community. For example, in India, most of the times there is no dress code for Toastmasters. But when you go to Western countries, there is a dress code. They expect you to get dressed in a certain manner and also be clean shaven and everything. With respect, they did not expect you to come as is. So it is one aspect. And the other thing is color code. Some colors makes a difference. Example, I come in a pleasant blue, it looks good. But if I'm dressed in a different thing, it all matches. It all depends upon, again, audience, how they are taking it up. But try to come in soft colors, soft color shirt, and then your pants or whatever you're trying to wear in a rather, I would say, whenever you are speaking on a bigger dais, try to come dressed professionally. I will not go into color codes. It all depends how you're going to match, but come professionally dressed. So that is one good aspect, that you impression that you will make on the audience. But rest, it depends upon you. Soumya, do you have?
Toastmaster Soumya, you may please ask your question.
Hi, Vipin. Thank you so much. Hi, Raghu. So nice to, hear and learn from you. I have a question. So I'm a person who naturally uses a lot of hand gestures. So how do I practice in just using hand gestures to emphasize a point? Because naturally, even when I speak to a person, there's a lot of hand gestures going on. So is there a trick that you have learned to reduce it or just use it to emphasize a point?
Calm your mind. You can
Okay.
calm your mind, then everything gets into the proper place. Hand gestures, rate of speech, and also sometimes the distraction that we make using crutch words. The one thing that important, rather if you are in a official Toastmaster meeting, they will talk about the arts and norms that you use. outside people might not use, but they notice it. The crutch words that you're using, the grammatical mistakes that you're making. But you can reduce all this when you are confident or pause yourself. And that pause will come when you're trying to be calm. Next time, Soumya, when you're trying to do is calm yourself. Do not try to rush. If you do not try to rush, automatically your hand gestures will come in sync with what you're trying to speak. And then also, second trick will be mindful. Pay attention to that you're trying to do next time. And that will one trick that you can, where you can reduce a lot of hand gestures.
Thank you, Raghu, for answering that question. Sorry, I was muted again. And Raghu, I have one last question. What is the first hand gesture that we use when we begin the speech? Like beat the quote, or do we stand still, or what is the first hand gesture? Or is it depending on a speech?
There is no hard and fast rule. It all depends upon you. It all depends upon the speech.
Okay. Thank you so much, Raghu. It was very insightful.
It all depends upon your speech. But there is no hard and fast rule. Rather, I would say the first hand gesture itself is your shake hand that we do in Toastmasters. I would say Toastmaster, it can be anything else.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Toastmaster Soumya. Any other questions? Anyone else who would like to ask questions? All right, so I think this is the number of questions that we have now. So thank you very much, everyone who have joined, and thank you so much, Distinguished Toastmaster Raghunadha Raju, for helping us unlock the unspoken. Distinguished Toastmaster Raju, any parting words you would like to say?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Like Toastmaster Ranjit, and of course our friend Raju, who has been an instrument in bringing me the opportunity, and also you part of it. It's a learning for me to present this presentation today, and also to everyone who are keenly listening to this. Before I part today, I want to tell you something. In every aspect of life, the only goal is to compete with yourself and become a better version of yourself. Version 1.2 to 2.4, 3.5, whatever it is. Just become a better version of yourself. Do not try to copy someone else. Do not do something just because somebody has told you. End of day, it is just their opinion. Try to look into things, introspect into what went well and what can be improved. And by that, you can always implement the changes that you want to do. One thing I would say, rather than anyone else, you are the best person who can be a critic for yourself. No one else can be that. I'm sure with implementing the feedback that you give yourself, you will be able to become a better version. And I wish you all the best in every aspect of life, whether it is Toastmasters, public speaking, whether it is your professional or personal life. Thank you, and see you everyone. Bye-bye. Night.
Thank you, Distinguished Toastmaster Raghunadha Raju. And thanks again to all of you once again for joining this session. We will be coming again with our next session soon. So until we see that in the next session, this is Area Director Toastmaster Vipin Parson signing off, adjourning this session. Thank you, everyone.